puppet show, it stays on because of you fools. We've been dancing with the devil way too long. I know it's fun, but get ready to pay your dues. Oh God, come back home. This crazy world is filled with liars and abusers. We need you now before we're too far gone. I hope one day they finally see the truth. God, we need you now.
Greetings, Earthlings. Welcome to Studio 64, podcast number 2. Been a busy week. Had to dart out and do a bit of a presentation this morning, so had to put on some threads. But I thought, well, you know, while I'm looking half decent, I may as well whiz up to the studio and say good day. Look, the farther I go down these rabbit holes, the more pissed off I get, to be honest with you. I'm really upset with the fact that ever since I was a baby, or a little boy, I've been lied to by, well, pretty much everybody. The government's fake. The fact that our emu and ostrich great seal is a fraud. The government that we think work for us and are voted in by us and do things to help us and care for us, all that stuff, it's all fake, literally. It's actually a corporation with an ABN number trading on the stock market in Washington DC. Along with all the other corporations, they form a pretty potent mafia, with the police armed with their little guns and tasers and flashy outfits, running around with sirens blazing and lights flashing, copping fines left, right and centre for all sorts of stuff. It's a joke. You've got to ask yourself, if you go into what they call a courtroom, a law space, you're supposed to be dealt with by a fair, honourable judge, listened to like a referee watches a game and listens to what's going on, watches what's going on and referees the game. That's his job. The court is owned by the people, and the court is the people. It's not the room, right? Now, if you've been into one of their little quorums and had a result, which is testify that you're a living man, you're not the person they're looking for, you've proven that, you've put it on the record for the third time. Once it's been on the record 3 times, it stays, and told you're free to go, why would you go back again and again and again to do the same thing over and over, unless you're compensated? Compensation's the key, mate. You need to be compensated. For every contract, there's a list of terms and conditions. Another interesting piece of knowledge is there's a thing called the Four Corners Rule, and there's another rule that's called boxing. Most of the elements in a courtroom are boxes: stand in the box, dock, lots of maritime terms, but the boxing rule states that anything on a page inside a box is not there. There's another rule that says that a document, especially one of legal standing, needs to be clarified in a language. If you look at an all caps piece of text, that's dog Latin. It's not English. It's a symbol, in other words. So apart from the fact that 75% of the information on a court document is surrounded by boxes, the majority of the headers, all the headings, all the names, and a pile of other stuff is in all caps. So it's a dog Latin language mixed with English, mixed with rules that disqualify it completely, which means there's nothing on the page. And in order to respond to something like that, you've got to commit fraud. So the best thing to do is simply wander in, if you're going to go, wander into the courtroom and just inform the magistrate that you don't understand the paperwork. and ask him to read it to you. Guarantee he won't read it to you. We've been getting screwed over for most of my life, but now it's really bad compared to how it was in the 70s. It's shocking now. I spent some time in China a few years back, and I think it was 2016, 2015. I saw what surveillance and digital ID, and basically they do everything through WeChat. So you've got a single app that runs your life. Cameras watch you every 100 metres, photograph your video, in and out of elevators, up and down stairs, driving your car. Doesn't matter where you go, you're being watched. And if you haven't got a smile on your dial, mate, when you walk out of the lift in the morning, you're going to lose a point off your social credit score. And after a while, if you lose a few of them, you can't catch the train. And it's that bad. And that's how it was back in 2016. I'm sure it's a lot more sturdy these days. But Australia is arguably now recognised as one of the most draconian states on earth. And the problem is, it's the frog in the warm frying pan. We're sitting here every day going about our business, and we don't see what's actually happening to us. And it's time we were woken up and took some of the good medicine. And that's why I've started this casting. There is a lot of good information available to all of us. It is getting harder to find because we've got the algorithms fighting against us now. And things that I used to be able to pick up and look at on, say, YouTube in 2018, I can't find anymore. You've got to go scouring. Or you've got to know people that are building websites that are vaults of information. Japan now has a population implosion. They're way below replacement rate there. Huge problem. Musk's been saying for 3 or 4 years that most of the Western world is below replacement value on birth rates. JFK Jr. Won his final Supreme Court battle against the pharmaceutical companies. There are no appeal courts left. So now the Nuremberg Code comes into play. Crimes against humanity, democide, poisoning the population, lying, cheating. Honestly, it couldn't get any worse unless they were running around shooting us all. But that's too obvious. So instead of shooting you, they just inject you. And the RNA that they've put into the people is very, very evil. It's creating turbo cancers and myocarditis, or whatever it's called. Young, fit, healthy sports people are dropping dead all over the place. I've lost 3 mates in the last 3 years. I'm not saying it was all because of vaccines, but I'll tell you what, there's a good chance it was. And RFK is going to, as soon as Trump gets in, he's going to destroy the pharmaceutical conglomerate. There's going to be an EBS very shortly, I believe. Everyone's going to find out the truth. And I think the shock of that is going to be overwhelming for a lot of people, because, to be frank, most people are sound asleep. They've got no idea what's going on. It's very sad. Anyway, look, it's not all bad. It's only bad if you choose to let it be bad. That's the whole purpose of this podcast, really, is to help people see that there are better ways of doing things. And look, you know, the average rent in Sydney, I suppose now would be $800 a week. People just can't afford it. Like, you can't have mum and dad. You can't have mum at home and dad at work, which is how I grew up. You can't do that anymore. Mum and dad are both working. Most of mum's income goes on child support if you've got kids, which means your kids have no mum and dad life or mum and dad time. They are always being looked after by someone who's just there to get a wage. No one really cares. They pretend to care, but they don't care. Why should they? It's not their kids. It's just a job. The kids are all stacked like sardines into a little, room with an air conditioner blazing, splattered with sunscreen when they go outside, which is another cancer-causing lie. So we need a way. We've got a way. I'm telling you, we've got a way. There are ways that we can all help each other, all be freer, all be richer, lower our stress, lower our overheads massively, stop paying road tolls. You just don't pay them. They end up at a debt collector. The debt collector buys them for 10 cents or 5 cents in the dollar. He owns them. You don't have to do business with him. You've got no contract with him. He has no authority to take anything off you or hassle you. Like, it's not that big a deal. I stopped paying tolls into 2020. Haven't paid a toll for 4 years. Nothing happens. You might get a heap of mail for a while. I just sent them all a letter saying cease and desist. Go away. You stole the road anyway. I don't have a deal with you. The Constitution clearly states that it's free to travel. Anyway, that's the key word, by the way, travelling. Driving is a commercial endeavour. Clearly outlined in Black's Law's dictionary, a driver is someone who is paid to do a service. Someone doing commerce is a driver. Tow truck driver, ambulance driver, bus driver, ferry driver. That's a driver. When you move from point A to point B, you're travelling, and you have a right to travel. It's been given to you by God. It wasn't given to you by the government. And people just need to realise these things and stand up for themselves. If you register your vehicle, for example, with the Royal Registry in Victoria, it's under the Crown, it works on the Constitution, it holds all the records, it fulfills all the legal obligations of a registration. It's a one-off charge of $200 or $300 for life. You can then go to Sun Alliance, I think, is the insurance company. I can do some checking on that. But if you've got a registered vehicle, you can get third-party property insurance. Once you're insured against third party, it's up to you if you want to go comprehensive. It'll cost more, but third-party property is all you really need. Drive carefully, do no harm, treat your neighbour as yourself, and go about your life. You'll save, well, straight off the bat there's at least $1,000 a year, just per car. And if it's a commercial car, like a truck or a van, it's $1,500, $1,600 a year before you insure it. And then you need to decouple from all of these tacitly agreed upon contractual agreements that you've taken on unwittingly via your birth strawman birth certificate. You've been hoodwinked, straight up. And once you realise that and start looking at ways of being unhoodwinked, things get better. It's straight up. They get a lot better real quick. I'll get all this stuff on the website shortly, and I'll give you download links, access to legal help via AI. You don't need to pay lawyers anymore. You can just go into Law and Order on Studio 64 website and engage. As long as you've got a basic subscription, we'll give you all the stuff we've got there for free. And I'm telling you, once the income starts to flow, and it will, I'm not interested in money. I don't need a lot of money anymore. I'm 62 years old. I've raised my family. My grandkids are half a dozen of them now, and they're nearly 10. I'm going to start funneling the money back to single mums that have lost their houses. I've seen all this stuff. They're living in cars, tents, caravans, on beaches, being thrown off the beach by the council who says they own the land. They don't own the land. They're an unvoted, unelected group of thugs as well, running around charging people to spend time on the earth. It's not their earth. Anyway, I'm getting emotional. Calm down, Nigel. Another startling piece of truth is the fact that all the courtrooms, and I keep saying courtrooms, they're not actually courtrooms, they're quorums. All the quorums in Australia, they're there for commerce. Every single one of them. You go in there and you do commerce. You get fined, you pay money. The judge, I'm told, or the court, for every guilty plea, draws down 150k from your SESCUV trust. There's 5,000 matters heard a day in New South Wales. There's a lot of money in this game. But apart from that, they'll send you on your merry way with no ability to travel because they take their licence off you for whatever they say you've done wrong. Then they expect you to carry on earning a living somehow. If you rely on movement to earn your income and you can't move because you haven't got one of their licenses and you're under contract and you break the contract, you get in trouble. Simple. But if you remove yourself from the contract, hand in the licence, hand in the registration, register your vehicles in the private, which is very doable. There's a statute of, what's it called? The Statute of Monopolies, which states that no one entity can monopolise any form of business. Well, you ask yourself, who monopolises the registration of vehicles? How many cars are on the road in New South Wales? But they take your licence off you, and then they tell you you've got to pay a fine. So after you've paid your rent and your tax and your power bill and bought food for your family, put some clean clothes on yourself, paid for your laundry, paid for your transportation back and forward, paid for your money, your lunch money, no one's got any money left. So if they hit you up for a $300 or $400 fine for some breach of contract that you agree to, then they'll tell you, well, you know, you've got, you can pay it off slowly. It's all right. They'll put you on what we call a drip. So you might have $3,000 worth of fines stacked up. As long as you're giving them money every month, they don't give a shit. Eventually, I think I had a total drip feed going out of $3,800, and I was spending roughly, I don't know, $800 a month on tolls, average. I was doing a lot of driving, but still, $800 every 4 weeks just for using the road before you have any fuel in your car. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the New South Wales government is collecting somewhere in the vicinity of $3 billion a year in excise fuel tax. That's supposed to be spent on roads. Well, if it's spent on roads, what's the toll for? We already own the road. Who sold the land to the offshore corporate entity to build the underground tunnel and then charge you to use it? Well, we asked if they could sell it. Was it ever for sale? And where did they get the land from in the first place? They stole it.